So yesterday we discussed about the Drude theory, that is the classical free electron theory, and this theory assumes that the free electrons or the valence electrons inside the metal, they roam freely everywhere, here and there, and while they do so, they collide with the positive ion force, and Drude assumed that in between collisions, the electron does not interact with other electrons. So the electron-electron interaction is neglected in Drude's model, that is known as independent electron approximation. The electron also does not interact with the positive ion force, that is known as the free electron approximation. Thus, in the absence of external electromagnetic field, the electron moves in a straight line. In this picture, you can see that electron is in between the collisions. Electron is moving in a straight line till it collides with a positive ion core. Second, collisions are instantaneous events, abruptly changing the velocity of the electron. Drude considered electron scattering of the impenetrable ion cores. All the collisions are elastic in nature. This means that there is no loss of energy. An electron experiences a collision with a probability per unit time given as 1 over tau, where tau is the relaxation time or the collision time or the mean free time. It is the time between two successive collisions. And if we want to calculate what is the probability of occurring a collision in very small time dt, then it would be given by dt over tau. Tau is independent of electron position and its velocity. Fourth assumption is, after each collision, an electron emerges with a velocity that is randomly directed and with a speed appropriate to the local temperature, and this is governed by the classical Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution of velocities, according to which the average velocity or the root mean square velocity of the electron would be under root 3 kbt divided by the mass of electron. If we plug in all the values, kb is Boltzmann constant, equal to 1.38 into 10 to the power minus 23 joule per Kelvin. T is temperature, m is mass of electron. Here we will take temperature equal to 300 Kelvin. So if we plug in all the values, we will get the electron velocity to be equal to 10 to the power 5 meter per second. In the presence of externally applied electromagnetic fields, the electrons acquire some amount of energy from the field and are directed to move towards higher potential. As a result, the electrons acquire a constant velocity known as drift velocity. This drift velocity comes only when we apply electric field. When we don't apply any field, then we will talk about the velocity, that is root mean square velocity. So Drude model tried to tackle distinction between metal and insulator. It tried to explain the electrical transport in metals and how the thermal conductivity varies of four metals. These are the successes of Drude models. It verifies Ohm's law. It explains the electrical and thermal conductivity of metals. It drives Widman-French law, a relation between electrical and thermal conductivity. It explains optical properties of materials. Ductility and malleability of metals can be explained by this model. However, there are more drawbacks of this Drude model. The phenomena such as photoelectric effect, Compton effect, and the black body radiation cannot be explained by classical free electron theory or the Drude model, as these effects were not discovered at the time of Drude, and we require quantum mechanics to explain these effects. Second point, that cannot be explained by Drude model is, according to classical ferroelectron theory, the value of specific heat of metals is 4.5 R, where R is the universal gas constant, whereas experimentally we observe value equal to 3 R. If we calculate the contribution of conduction electrons to the specific heat, it is very small, 0.01 R. However, as per Drude's theory, it comes out to be 1.5 R, very large value. Drude model can also not explain why some solids are metals, whereas others are semiconductors or insulators. Drude's model can also not explain why some metals are ferromagnetic. By ferromagnetism, I mean the presence of spontaneous magnetization even in the absence of magnetic field. Drude model also fails to explain the temperature-independent behavior of the paramagnetic susceptibility of conduction electrons. If we measure the paramagnetic susceptibility of conduction electrons, it will remain constant even if we vary the temperature. However, if we measure the paramagnetic susceptibility of atoms, they follow the Curie law, which means that their paramagnetic susceptibility is inversely proportional to temperature. Phi is equal to C/T. Drude's model also fails to explain higher value of mean free path at low temperature. If we lower the temperature, later we will see that the mean free path can be very large. It can be increased up to 100 times. Drude model also fails to explain the positive value of the Hall coefficient for some metals like beryllium, indium, magnesium, and aluminium. As per Drude's theory, every metal contains free electrons or the conduction electrons. Therefore, every metal should exhibit positive value of the Hall coefficient, whereas experimentally for metals like beryllium, indium, magnesium, aluminium, etc., we observe positive value of Hall coefficient. At low temperatures, the electrical conductivity and thermal conductivity, they exhibit different behavior with temperatures. Therefore, thermal conductivity and the electrical conductivity, their ratio at particular temperature will not remain constant. However, Drude's theory predicts that this ratio kappa by sigma t should remain constant at all temperatures. Now we try to explain some properties of metals based on this Drude model. So first we take DC electrical conductivity of metal as per Drude model. Here our aim is to understand how the motion of the electron occurs inside the solid, which will give us an understanding of the conductivity of the solid. To start with, in Drude model, we assume that there is an ordered arrangement of positive ions and the electrons move through this. This picture shows by positive blue mark, I have shown the ions. These are positive ions, and by red symbol, I have shown the electrons. Electrons are moving in between the positive ions. As the electron moves, it undergoes collision. It may strike with the positive ions. We define a mean collision time tau, which is the time between two successive collisions experienced by the electron. For example, if the electron has collided here, then it collides somewhere here. So what is the time interval between two collisions? That is defined by the mean free time, the time up to which the electron does not feel any collision. The probability of collision within a time interval dt, here dt is very small. That is, the probability that the electron undergoes a collision is P collision is equal to dt over tau. If this dt is much smaller than tau, then the probability of collision is given by this P collision is equal to dt over tau, and it is equal to 1 if dt is very large in comparison to tau. In between successive collisions, the electron moves independently of any forces and it has a momentum p. I have denoted p with bold letter as it represents the vector quantity. After the collision, the momentum gets completely randomized. So you can see here in this picture, I have shown two positive ions and the electron is moving from one positive ion to other positive ion with momentum p. So the time between two collisions is given by tau. So when the electron strikes here, its motion gets randomized. It will move in this direction. It will feel a collision, then it will move in this direction. Then again collision, it will go in this direction. So after collision, its momentum or its motion gets randomized. However, in between the scattering, the electron will move with a certain momentum p, as shown here. Here the electron is moving and it is in between the two ions, two positive ions. Therefore, it will have a momentum, and it is only between these two successive collisions that if we apply electric field or magnetic field, the electron will experience a force, and because of the applied electric field or magnetic field. If we take the average momentum after a long time, it would be equal to 0, because after every collision, the motion of the electron gets randomized, and hence the average momentum of the electron would be equal to 0 after passing of sufficient time. If between the collision we know what is the momentum of the electron at any time, then we are interested in what would be its momentum after a time t plus dt. In infinitesimal time interval dt, there is a possibility of collision, and if there is a collision, it will change the electron momentum. So if we have to find the momentum of the electron within this time t plus dt, we have to write it in terms of what is the probability that electron will not undergo a collision in this time interval dt. Because if there is a collision within this time, then electron will lose its momentum. That we don't want. So we have already discussed that probability of collision in time dt is P collision equal to dt divided by tau. Therefore, probability of no collision in time dt will be 1 minus of P collision, that is equal to 1 minus dt over tau. This is the probability of no collision in time dt. And only then the electron will have a certain finite momentum, because we know that if the electron undergoes collisions, then its momentum will get randomized, and after a certain long time, its momentum or its average momentum would be equal to 0. No collision in time interval dt means that the electron momentum will rise. So the momentum at time t plus dt is going to be written as, this is the momentum on the left side at time t plus dt, that would be equal to probability of no collision in time dt times its momentum at time t, which can be written as 1 minus p collision times its momentum at time t. So we can see here that when dt is much greater than tau, so this term here dt over tau would be equal to 1. We will definitely have collision, so 1 minus 1, it would be equal to 0. In longer duration, as the electron undergoes multiple scattering, the average total momentum at time t plus dt will become equal to 0. That I have explained using this equation. Therefore, if we want to calculate the momentum of the electron at time t plus dt, we shall have to consider that the electron does not undergo a collision. That is the necessary condition. Between successive collisions, that is within time interval where dt is much smaller than tau, if we apply an electric field, then the electron momentum may change because of the action of this additional force. This force is given by f of t. However, here we are applying a constant electric field. Constant electric field means DC electric field that is not changing with time. So here time does not matter. But for the time being, we write it that the applied external electric field is a function of time. But actually it is a DC field. The change in electron momentum due to this applied electric field would be, as you know, that the rate of change of momentum is equal to the applied force as per Newton's law. So the change in electron momentum dp would be equal to times into the applied force. Therefore, in the presence of electric field force Ft between successive collisions, the electron momentum at time interval t plus dt would be equal to, this is the momentum at time t plus dt, that would be equal to the probability of occurring no collision in time dt times the change in momentum plus the already momentum, or the increase in momentum due to the applied electric field. After so which becomes, here we write the change in momentum. From here, this value we write. So we plug in this value, this equation becomes this, and after solving, we open the brackets, and this equation will have 4 terms on the right hand side. Now, relaxation time tau is of the order of 10 to the power minus 14 to 10 to the power minus 15 seconds. It is very small. So, and we are looking for the condition of no scattering in time interval dt. So we are assuming that dt is much smaller than tau. This means that dt would be much smaller. Much smaller means it may be 10 to the power minus 16 or 10 to the power minus 17 seconds. So it has to be much smaller than tau, and since dt is very much smaller, so the last term, fourth term, contains a square term in dt. Therefore, this term would be very small and it can be neglected. So we neglect this term. Under this approximation, the last equation will become, because we have omitted or we have neglected the fourth term, so the last equation becomes this. And we reshuffle the terms, we bring this first term on the right hand side to the left side. So this will become dp, and if we divide throughout by dt, so it will become dp over dt, that will be equal to ft minus pt divided by tau. So here dp is electron momentum at time t plus dt minus its momentum at time t. This is the expression for changing the momentum of the electron when it is acted upon by a force Ft. So in this equation, there are 2 terms. First term is, if we, for the time being, we neglect the second term. So first term represents the change in the rate of change of momentum as a function of applied force. So this is as per Newton's law. The first expression is nothing but Newton's law that states that under the influence of a force, there is change in momentum. What is the second term? Second term also has the unit of force because it is momentum per time. Therefore, it also has the unit of force. But what does it represent? The second term is a frictional drag term. coming because of the scattering. It is with negative sign. You can see here it is having negative sign. So it is with negative sign and has the dimension of a force. It is acting upon the moving electron. So if we apply a force to the electron responds to that force, but over and above that there is a drag term, which is the force an electron feels because of the scattering or collisions. For the time being, we assume that Ft is 0. We switch off the applied electric field, then in this equation we put Ft equal to 0. So what we are left with is dp over dt would be equal to minus pt over tau. So this equation is here, and it is a first order differential equation. The solution of this is given as follows. Electron momentum at any time t would be equal to its momentum at the starting times e to the power minus t over tau. This equation says that an initial momentum decays exponentially with a typical time scale tau because of scattering. The momentum gets randomized and becomes 0 after a long time. Now, consider the effect of applied field on the electron motion. So here in this picture, we are showing two positive ions, and in between them the electron is moving, and we apply electric field also. So we see what happens. The force on the electron due to this applied field is going to give rise to the net change in momentum of the electron. The force on the electron by the electric field is minus E times the electric field, as we already know it. It is the DC or static electric field, as I have already told you. Therefore, the equation of motion for the electron motion becomes dp over dt would be equal to minus p over tau minus E times E. What we have done is just we have put the value of force in this equation. In place of Ft, we have written minus E times capital E. So we got this equation. When the electron moves under the influence of electric field, it generates a current. We already know this, and the corresponding current density is given by J is equal to minus NeB. Here, N is the electron density, and yesterday we calculated the electron density, and it comes out to be 10 to the power 28 per meter cube in case of metals. E is the electronic charge, that's why we have negative sign here, and V is the velocity of electron. It should be the drift velocity because we have applied electric field. Now, what the electric field will do? The electric field will increase the velocity of the electron. However, there is the frictional drag term also due to scattering, and this is drag term will reduce the electron velocity. As a consequence, the velocity of electron becomes constant. The electric field is trying to increase the velocity of the electron, whereas the drag term will try to reduce its velocity. Therefore, the electron will acquire a constant velocity. It means that whenever you have the constant velocity, there will not be change in electron momentum. Therefore, this term dp over dt would be equal to 0. And this equation, if we put dp over dt equal to 0, so you write equal to 0, this equation will become P is equal to minus E capital E times tau, and we know that P is the momentum, so that can be written as mass times velocity. So if we divide this equation by m, we will get electron velocity, that would be equal to minus E tau over m times E. So we plug in the value of velocity in the current density equation, that is J is equal to minus NeB, what we will get? We will get J is equal to NE squared tau upon M into E. What is this term? Ne squared tau over N. That is the electrical conductivity of the metal, and we denote it by sigma. So we write this equation as J is equal to sigma E. So that is the Ohm's law. Or from the conductivity expression, we can calculate what is the electrical resistivity. Electrical resistivity is equal to 1 over the electrical conductivity. So electrical resistivity would be M over Ne squared tau. So we can see here that using the Drude's model, we have verified the Ohm's law, that is equal to J is equal to sigma E. Current density in a metal is equal to conductivity times applied electric field. So we can see that the resistivity is a function of the scattering time. It is related to the scattering because we have the tau terms here, and tau comes whenever you have the scattering. Therefore, conductivity or resistivity is a function of scattering time. It is related to the scattering which occur in the solid. As the electron moves through the lattice of positive ions, the electron undergoes scattering. As an electron undergoes a scattering on moving through the solid, it gains a resistance because it is not allowed to move freely. It is dragged by the collisions, and the collisions lead to what you call as resistance. So we can understand it with the help of this figure. There are positive ion cores through which the electron is moving, and as it moves, it collides with the positive ion cores, and it is moving here and there. Therefore, it is not moving freely, or it is not moving at its will. Rather, it is feeling scattering, and whenever there is scattering, there would be resistance. So we can understand that Drude's model, which assumes that electron, when it moves inside a metal, it strikes with the positive ion force. It explains very well the phenomena or the effect of resistance occurring in metals or solids. So it is one of the successes of Drude model that it gave us a way to think about how resistance appears inside the metal. For the first time, there was an understanding which started to develop as to how does resistance appear inside the metal. And what is the reason? The resistance inside the metal occurs because of the scattering of electron with the positive ions inside the metal. Now, we will try to calculate the mean free path for copper. So I have already told you that the tau, that is the mean free time, the time for which the electron is free, it does not feel any collision, that is of the order of 10 to the power minus 14 to 10 to the power minus 15 seconds. And using this, we will try to calculate what is the mean free path. Mean free path for copper. And what is mean free path? It is the distance traveled by the electron before it collides. So we will calculate it using this conductivity or resistivity formula. We have just derived the conductivity relation. Sigma is equal to Ne squared tau upon M, or resistivity would be given as rho is equal to M over Ne squared tau. In order to estimate tau, what we require? We require the value of resistivity for copper, and we also need to calculate, we also need to estimate the value of N, that is the electron density in copper. Rest of the things are constant. M is the mass of electron, E is electronic charge. So in order to calculate the resistivity, what we do, we take a piece of copper and connect it to the battery voltage V. So the current will start flowing through the copper piece, and we can measure how much current is flowing. So we can calculate using Ohm's law, V is equal to IR. We can calculate what is the resistance of that copper piece. So if we know the resistance of the copper piece, from the resistance using this formula, rho is equal to RA by L, where A is the cross-sectional area, L is the length of copper piece. We can calculate what is the resistivity of copper wire. So resistivity is a property of material. It does not depend upon the dimensions. Therefore, the resistivity of copper wire at room temperature comes out to be of the order of 10 to the power minus 8 ohm meter. We have calculated the resistivity. In order to calculate tau, what else we need? The electron density. Now we try to calculate the electron density for copper. What is N? N is the number of electrons per unit volume. Per unit volume could be centimeter cube or it could be meter cube. So that can be converted into this. So number of electrons can be converted into number of atoms per unit volume, and then a little bit calculation will give you number of atoms per mole into the density of copper in kilogram per meter cube divided by atomic mass of copper in kilogram per mole times Z. Here Z is the electron contributed by each atom. So you can see that overall formula is going to give us number of electrons per unit volume. So Z, I told you that it is the number of electrons contributed by each atom. In case of copper, because outermost shell is 4F that contains 1 electron. So one copper contributes 1 electron to the metal. So in case of copper, Z is equal to 1. In case of, for example, aluminium, Z would be equal to 3. Na is Avogadro number that you know, 6.023 into 10 to the power 23 atoms per mole. A is the atomic mass of copper, that is equal to 663.546 into 10 to the power 3 kilogram per mole. And this Xi, it is the density of copper, that is equal to 8960 kilogram per meter cube. So when we plug in all these values, we calculate for the electron density for copper comes out to be 8.49 into 10 to the power 28 electrons per meter cube. In centimeter cube, it would be 10 to the power 22. So by the density, we mean that this many electrons per meter cube are available in copper metal for conduction. This is their electron density. Now we know the value of resistivity for copper. We know the value of electron density. We plug in all these values in the resistivity formula, and we also put the electron mass and charge. So we get for copper, tau is equal to 2.43 into 10 to the power minus 14 seconds at room temperature. For aluminium, it would be of the order of 10 to the power minus 15. So for all the metals, the relaxation time is of the order of 10 to the power minus 14 to 10 to the power minus 15 seconds. Now we have the knowledge of what is the order of the mean free time, and our aim is to calculate what is the mean free path for electron. So mean free path is related to mean free time by this formula. Mean free path is denoted by L equal to the velocity of electron times the mean free time. And we know that as per Drude's model, the velocity of the electron is 10 to the power 5 meter per second. And if we plug in these values here, we will get that mean free path is equal to, it varies from 1 angstrom to 10 angstrom. It is the result of Drude's theory. And if we see that the average distance between two neighboring positive ions inside a solid is of the order of 1 to 10 angstrom, and we are also getting the mean free path of this order. Therefore, as Drude predicted, and we are getting here that electron collides with the positive ion force because its mean free path is of the order of the lattice spacing. So we are getting the mean free path of the electron to be in the range which is roughly the spacing between the ions inside the solid. Therefore, Drude assumed that the scattering of the electron is from the ionic lattice. Hence, it looks as if, as per Drude, the ionic lattice is going to cause the scattering of the electron, and the scattering length is equal to the period of the ions in the solid. So, Drude model seems to be working, but this is not actually so. What we have calculated so far is at room temperature only. So now we will see what is the problem with the Drude model. So first problem is with the velocity. Drude model considers valence electron to be like a gas of molecules that follow Maxwellian-Boltzmann distribution of velocity, and according to that, velocity of electron is given by under root 3 kBt divided by m. And if we calculate it, it comes out to be 10 to the power 5 meter per second. One thing. And the second thing is, we can see from this formula that velocity is proportional to the square root of temperature. However, after Drude, after several years of Drude, it was established that electrons are not the classical particles, rather they are quantum particles, and electrons do not follow the Maxwellian-Boltzmann distribution of velocity, rather their behavior is governed by the Fermi-Dirac statistics. And this statistics follow the laws of quantum mechanics. And according to Fermi-Dirac statistics, value of the velocity of electron is 10 to the power 6 meter per second. Therefore, Drude's model underestimates the electron velocity by 1 order of magnitude. Had Drude calculated this value 10 to the power 6 meter per second, this is the velocity of electron, then in that case he would have got the mean free path that should have been of the order of 100 angstrom. So Drude could not have given his theory, because as per his theory, mean free path is equal to the lattice spacing, because he took the wrong value or the lower value of electron velocity in his calculation. That's why he arrived at such type of results. Second problem with the Drude's model is, as per the Fermi-Dirac statistics, velocity of conduction electron is independent of temperature. However, as per Drude's model, velocity of electron is proportional to the square root of temperature. So again, that is the problem. If we assume that the electrical resistivity, if we measure the electrical resistivity of a metal as a function of temperature, then we observe that resistivity of the metal will decrease as we decrease the temperature. And if the resistivity is decreasing, we see that tau, that is inversely proportional to resistivity. So if resistivity is decreasing, this means that tau will increase. So as we lower the temperature, tau will increase. Hence, with lowering the temperature, tau, which is roughly 10 to the power minus 14 to 10 to the power minus 15 seconds at room temperature, it will increase up to 10 to the power minus 13 seconds at low temperature. Therefore, if we now calculate the mean free path, it will, instead of 1 to 10 angstrom, which was obtained in Drude's model, it will increase up to 1000 angstrom. Roughly, it will be between 100 to 1000 angstrom. And if we take very pure metals, even the mean free path of the order of centimeters has been reported. So there is a large increase in the mean free path at lower temperature. So the mean free path is no longer about 1 angstrom at lower temperatures, but it is few orders of magnitude larger. this is no longer the spacing between the ions inside the metal. The spacing between the ions inside the metal is about 1 to 10 angstrom, but the electron is moving over distance that is much larger than the spacing between the ions at low temperature, and it can scatter over distance is much larger than the spacing between the ions. So it is not actually clear what causes the collisions in the metal. In fact, if we take the metal pure, if we take a pure metal, as I told you, that mean free path of the orders of centimeters has also been reported. So this is the strong evidence that electrons do not collide with the positive ions inside the metal as Joule has proposed. Therefore, we don't know what is the mechanism that is giving rise to the resistance, whether it is the electron phonon scattering or whether it is anything else. But it is certainly not the electron ion scattering as Joule has proposed. So electrical conductivity is given as sigma is equal to n squared tau over m. Here tau is mean free path divided by the velocity of electron. Since as per Drude model, velocity is proportional to the square root of temperature, therefore conductivity should be inversely proportional to the square root of temperature. However, experimentally it is observed that conductivity is inversely proportional to temperature, not proportional to the inverse of square root of temperature. This discrepancy is due to the limitations of classical physics, because we have assumed that electrons are particles, they are behaving classically. We apply Newtonian mechanics to explain their behavior, and their velocity was assumed to be governed by the Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution. So that is the problem. And Drude assumed unrealistic assumption of electron-ion elastic collision. So that was the problem, which gave wrong results of the conductivity. So qualitatively, we can explain that we can say that Drude was able to explain the conductivity behavior, but the qualitative results were not tallying with the experimental observations. So with this, I conclude today's lecture. In the next class, we will discuss the thermal conductivity of metal as per Drude model.
Sir.
Yes.
सर बीच बीच में आवाज और वीडियो चला जाता है, तो आप ये इधर पीपीटी और वीडियो रिकॉर्डिंग की लिंक दीजिएगा.
Yes, I will share.
So when will be the next class? Next Monday?
Then next Monday to our class, and Tuesday also to our class. Okay?
Okay, sir. Okay.
So if you have any question, you can ask me. And today I will share you with the PDF of the reference books for this course.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, bye.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, sir.